It's Mr Dilly, and today's show is about stories, belonging and feeling included. Welcome to Mr Dilly Meets Children's Mental Health Week 2026. This week is Children's Mental Health Week all week, and it's a chance to talk about well-being, which we all have, feelings and how we look after ourselves, but also how we look after each other. This year's theme for Place to Be's Children's Mental Health Week is This Is My Place. And place can mean, of course, more than just like a physical building. It can be a group, it could be a friendship, it could be a club, could be a classroom, anywhere you kind of feel, and we all have this, don't we? Anywhere you kind of feel, I belong here, I'm safe to be here, and I matter here. And that's the theme of Children's Mental Health Week this particular year. As I said, it's led by Place to Be. It's it started, I think, about 2015, and every February since then, this happens, and it's to shine a spotlight on, obviously, mental health itself. Place to Be is a mental health charity, and it supports families, schools and pupils across the country. Here's a short little animation to explain more about this year's theme, and then it'll be a chance to welcome in my guest today, and we get straight into the show. Here we go.
Children's Mental Health Week 2026 will take place from the 9th to the 15th of February.
The theme for this year's Children's Mental Health Week is This Is My Place, which is all about belonging.
That means feeling like you're part of something, such as your family, your school, your group of friends, or a team.
Feeling we belong helps us feel connected, valued and accepted. We feel happy, safe and ready to learn and play. It helps us grow strong in our minds and bodies.
This Children's Mental Health Week Place to Be wants all children and young people to be able to say, "This is my place."
We will be talking about how we can help everyone feel like they belong. We will learn how to be kind, include others, and make sure no one feels left out.
This is my place.
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 Visit the Children's Mental Health Week website to get involved.
This is my place.
Thank you very much for Place to Be allowing us to show that video. And if you go to that website, Children's Mental Health Week from Place to Be, there's loads of resources on there for you're a secondary school or primary school. Do check that out and enjoy. Lots there for you to get your teeth stuck into this week. Okay, now it's time to welcome both my guests. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a kind of an off the panel chat to kick it off today with my guest today. And it's going to be talking about the theme of This Is My Place. So I'm going to put the titles up, and then as if by magic, people, both my guests will appear. I'll introduce them, and then we're going to have a chat. So here we go. By magic, they are on the screen. So we have Joanna Nadin. Give us a big wave, Joanna. And we also have the wonderful Stewart Foster as well. Give a big wave, Stewart. And let's give them a big round of applause. Lovely to have you both on today as well. So I'm going to give you a couple of introductions, first of all, just to make you feel good. Okay, here we go. Joanna Nadin writes brilliant books for children, teens, and adults. And her new novel is When the World Ends, a gripping adventure. There it is. About two groups of kids trying to reach a place they've only heard about in stories when everything is changing, as it does all the time. Round of applause, Joanna Nadin. We're going to find out more about that in a minute. And Stewart Foster writes stories. Well, they're full of heart and they're full of warmth and empathy and friendship as well. And today we're going to be talking about a book. It's a few years old now, but it's a fantastic book called All the Things That Could Go Wrong. And it's told from two different points of view about Dan and Alex and what happens when they're forced to kind of work together. And Stewart will be telling us all about that in a moment. Stewart, round of applause for you as well, sir. Fantastic stuff. Now, today, we're going to kick this off today talking about the theme of This Is My Place, belonging, connection, helping everyone feel included. So this is goes to both of you. We'll start with you, Joanna, if I may. So when you hear that sort of theme, This Is My Place, what does that kind of mean to you as a thing in your own kind of life, I guess?
I totally identified with a girl in that video that we just saw, who was walking through the class or the school library with a book in her hands, because as a child the library was my place, and now books are my happy place. I struggled a lot with friendships as a kid. I struggled a little bit with socializing as an adult, and so when I am stressed I read. Basically, I also write, which we can talk about later, but reading for me is my happy place. I can disappear into a book, I can escape, I can learn things and learn how to conquer difficult feelings. But yeah, libraries and books are my place.
Yeah. What about you, Stuart? Is it the same sort of thing or completely different?
And well, first of all, the library part, it was a nightmare for me because I am deaf. So to go into a library and somebody's whispering to me, it was awful. But I think the whole thing about sense of place is the fact that for myself growing up, I was actually very gregarious at school. And then on the walk home, my mood would suddenly drop. And by the time I got home, I was another person almost. And I used to get back in, and my mum and dad used to say I was sulking. I didn't know what I was doing because I didn't understand then what it was. But it was just the fact that you can actually be two different people at times, and that you know, almost identify which one is you, and then understand it more. And that's the whole point about being in a sense of place, is that we get to talk about it.
Yeah, fantastic. And what sort of age were you when this was going on?
14, 16.
Yeah. So
my mates used to say I was a different. If anybody came around the house, they would say almost like, "What happened?"
Yeah. No, but I think we all feel like that sometimes. We all just sort of feel like that because we have these sort of different versions of ourselves, and it's really interesting. Just echoing on what you both just said there, and this theme as well. What's the difference? And a lot of the children watching will identify with this sort of question. Really, what's the difference, do you think, between fitting in somewhere and belonging somewhere, which are sort of, they have the same effect sometimes, but there are different reasons behind it. So think about that, kids. Are you fitting in, belonging? I'm sure you felt like that. Joanna, what do you think about that?
That's really interesting when you hear them put side by side, because you think they're the same. But to me, when I think about it more, fitting in is actually almost a negative, because it sounds like it requires you to change who you are, whereas belonging, you can be yourself and still fit with those people around you, which I think, which is what both Stu and I have been writing about, that idea that you don't need to necessarily alter yourself, but you draw on each other's strengths and you accept each other's differences. And I guess that to me, so belonging, I found people that I belong with, but we are so very different.
Yeah, that's true, actually, isn't it? You don't have to be the same, do you? I mean, that's what's so wonderful about it. Stuart, same kind of thing, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, the fitting part is almost like a perspective, an outside perspective, where it looks like you fit in, and whereas the belonging is exactly what Joe said, because we all know what it's like to be with our best friends, where we're not scared what we're saying. Whereas you can be with a group of people, and I'm not great with groups of people, because if I'm with a group of people and I think they don't understand or have the same sort of empathy level, I struggle. And
yeah.
That's what belonging is. That you're in a group where you're safe. Exactly what Joe said. You're safe.
It's really wonderful to hear you both talk about this, because I think the thing is that so sometimes if you're a kid, I'm just sort of generalizing here, children. So if you're a kid, sometimes you look at adults and you think adults have got it all kind of worked out. That they don't surely feel like that and stuff like that. But can you think like maybe there were times when you were a bit younger, just so some of the children might identify with these. Now you're obviously very adults and stuff, that you actually felt a sense of that, a sense of kind of not kind of fitting in, and because we all get a bit of that sometimes. As I said, even when you're older, was there any particular moments that for you that when you just say, "Oh yeah, I remember that really, really well"? But Stuart, any particular points?
I can remember once actually where I was with my brother and a group of friends, and there was a video taken. We were just like messing around and things like that. And I can remember playing it back on the TV, and it sounds really bad what my dad said.
Yeah.
But my dad said, "You don't look like you should be there."
Great.
And honestly, I'm not saying it destroyed me, but if I look at the eyes, I know that I should have been there. It wasn't my friend.
Yeah.
It was, and He shouldn't have said it, by the way.
No. Yeah, but the thing is, things slip out, don't they? We sometimes don't mean it. We sort of say it and stuff like that. But they stay with you. Some of these things. Well, Joanna, any particular moment you think, oh yeah, I've got a few of them. I won't say mine.
It's very strange looking back. I was diagnosed autistic last year, and so looking back at my childhood and the not fitting in it all makes sense now. But there were some very particular moments where, for example, going to my first ever school disco, we didn't have the money for a lot of new clothes, so I'd sewed red buttons on an old school shirt and thought that looked great. It did not look great. So I'm not, completely dissing my friends, but I was laughed at quite strongly then, and on many occasions, because I did dress oddly. I dressed in a lot of secondhand clothing. Now I love everything I'm wearing now is secondhand, but back then it was sort of frowned upon, and I was considered a bit of an oddball.
Yeah. Well, I think we all are, because we're all unique, and that's the thing. We all actually are kind of odd in the sense of that. It's really lovely to hear you both speak so openly about it. Thank you so much for this. Another quick question, linking to the theme. What's a small thing someone can do that makes a big difference, especially at school, do you think? And this might be something you did, or something you saw someone did, or it might just be something you think that someone can do at school that can make a kind of a big difference. But also maybe just out in the general world, there's quite simple things we can do that can make a big difference. So Stuart, anything sort of small that maybe one of the children watching today could think, if I did that, it would make quite a big difference? Anything
I knew you were going to come to me first as well. Do you know what actually my overriding experiences in schools is? That lovely feeling when, it sounds like it's selfish on my part, but at the end of a talk, you will know, or I will know, somebody's going to come up to me and say, that's me in the book.
Yeah.
So if it's ADHD, they go, that's me. Like that. If it's OCD, it's totally different. They creep up and they go. What is amazing is the friend they bring with them.
Wow.
And that's what I find very powerful, is that when you see somebody and you'll be chatting to this person and you suddenly realize that other person has taken the time to stay with their friend and be with them. And I think that's very powerful. It's not so powerful, but what a lovely feeling to think that you've taken a friend who understands how you feel to a guy you've never met before.
Yeah.
But between the two of you, you can get it. And like I said, and I think if that happens throughout the school, with friends, is the fact that if you feel you can go to somebody, or if you're the type of person that is very empathetic, that you would gravitate to it anyway. And that's a really kind of like it's a powerful thing to be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Joanna.
I mean, I say this knowing this is quite hard to do, but if someone had done this for me, or for my kid, who was also one of those kids who was left out, if you can just try to include someone, if you see they're habitually being left out at break time, because that's the point when teachers aren't always around to see, even if it's just saying hi to them, it can make such a difference, just that tiny moment of connection and not feeling entirely alone at school. Because I know a lot of people do feel just that school, with all those people around them, that they actually feel more lonely there.
I think you're right there. I think those little moments of just being with someone when they're uncertain about something, or saying hello to someone, just seeing them. We want to be seen, don't we? We want to feel a sense of like connected to other people. So that's really amazing. Okay, so we're going to cover quick questions, and then we're going to move forward. We could talk all day about these sort of things. So this is quite a good one. So this links on with this question, really. If you're watching and you want to belong, but feel joining in feels awkward, what's a first step that's actually doable? We kind of said a couple of them there, but anything else you think that kind of, is good for any kids of any sort of, in any sort of friendship situations or class situations or anything like that? Any particular other things that you could add to that?
I would say join a club for something that you're into, because that's where you're going to find people who are like you. So I struggled with friendships until I joined, and you can feel free to laugh at me, the amateur operatic society in my hometown.
Wow, amazing.
And my best friends now are the friends I made there aged 12, and that's how I found my friends, because I love singing. I'm not good at it. I'm really, embarrassingly bad at times, but I just loved singing, and I found amongst those people, I guess we'd say we were the weirdos in the town, but they were my friends.
The thing is with that, and a lot of kids, and adults will identify with this. Sometimes, though, when you're feeling a bit like left out and a bit kind of, the confidence that you need to then go and join something, which would do you the good, is and that's the bit that's missing sometimes, isn't that leap to have the confidence to go and actually do it, and by doing it you get the confidence, but it's a kind of a difficult one sometimes to kind of get together on that. But that's really good advice, to sort of join a club and have a go at things outside of school as well. Stuart, any particular thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not in that singing group, by the way. Still
Me neither, believe me, neither.
You know what, my kind of growing up, and people always say to me, oh, how could you write 11, 12-year-olds so easily? Is because I still feel that. And I think if we're talking about mental health and anxiety, it doesn't differentiate between 11 and 12 and 60 and 61. There's the same feelings that go on. And I think some of it is about being the idea that anxiety and excitement are quite close together. And it's almost like identifying the fact that if you just did that little bit, it turns from anxiety to excitement instead. Now, I am the worst person for doing that, because I do avoid situations where I think it's going to happen. But it's more to do with the fact that if you just it's almost like being brave for like a second or a minute. And if you have managed to get to the right people, they will respond to it. And
there's a moment in the film, I can't remember the film now, but it was, I don't know if any kids can try this. Basically, is that to change your life, sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of insane bravery. I can't remember the film. Basically, you go, I can't do this. For 20 seconds, I'm going to give this a go. Okay, let's do it. 20 seconds, and then you'll be amazed what can happen within 20 seconds. So it's an amazing thing. Now we've got loads of questions for you, but we're gonna kind of move on now. What we're gonna do is Stu's gonna say goodbye for a little bit. We're going to stay with Joanna, and then we're going to be back with more from Stu a bit later on, but also with both of them for your questions. We've got some amazing questions already sent in as well. So end of the author panel. Say goodbye to Stu. Joanna staying with us. Stu, see you later on. Thank you very much. And back with Joanna. Okay, fantastic. Thanks for your honesty there, Joanna. It's wonderful to hear. And it's really amazing to hear that for children as well, because they give a real sense of like, oh, that's okay. I feel a bit like that, and that's what's great about it. Another way that it can help, of course, is through books and stories and reading, which brings us neatly to your new book, Where the World Ends. Can you sort of tell us a little bit about this story, what it's about and the characters and what they have to go through in that? So can I hand over to you for that, to tell us a bit more about it?
Sure. So it is, here's the book, When the World Ends. It imagines what would happen if the polar ice caps melted overnight. I need to reinforce that this is not going to happen. It can't happen. But very, very slowly, over thousands and thousands of years, the polar ice caps are melting. And once they completely melted, the sea level is going to rise by 63 meters, which means a lot of England, of Great Britain, and indeed the world is going to be completely underwater. So imagine what would happen if that happened overnight, and huge swathes of our country, of London, would be completely disappeared. And it follows three very different kids, two of whom, Paris and Otis, are staying with an aunt of Paris's in Camberwell in London, and the aunt is a prepper, and they've built an ark in the back garden because they are predicting a flood is going to come. So they get stuck on an ark and end up out at sea. And the other voice in the novel is Gaston, who is a 12-year-old boy, and he lives at the top of a block of flats in Foy in Cornwall, which is where my family are all from. And they are each going to have a really long journey to try to find a new place that they can call home, because home is effectively gone.
When everything's going wrong in this book, what are the things that help your characters kind of keep going? Is it each other? Is it a particular place or a plan, or what keeps them kind of moving forward and keeps them going?
It is absolutely each other. So they each end up in a little gang. Even Gaston ends up in a sort of refugee camp in Cornwall, but he's there with his friend Roshan, who lives in the flat with him, and so they have each other. And Paris and Otis hate each other at the start of the novel. They are new stepbrother and stepsister, and they do not get along. And part of it is them learning to like each other a bit and to recognize strengths in each other. But they do also have Paris's cousin Jonah and a lot of animals who are on board the Ark, and animals do play a huge role in this story.
Which is lovely. It covers all bases. You got your people, and you got your animals, which is quite good.
Yeah,
there's a sense of obviously in this and about hope, and I think hope is always obviously important in all our lives. You know, no matter what age you're at. Why do you think stories, or not just stories, but I guess reading books, so powerful when you kind of need a sense of hope? What do you think that can give children watching, or gives someone reading a book, or maybe even just your books in particular?
Hope. I always write hopeful books. Hope for me is so incredibly important, as it is, I think, for most children's authors. David Almond, the wonderful writer, calls children's authors the hope hunters. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to think about how life might be, and we're trying to create different lives that you're going to try on for size. Another writer whose name I've forgotten, which is an embarrassing point now, but Alan Gibbons always used to say, when you're writing, you can take your readers into the darkest room, but you have to show them a little bit of light, the route by which they can get out, which is hope, effectively. And for me, there is no point writing about hideous things like imagining this, catastrophe of a flood, without showing us how we can work with that and how we can build a future, knowing that might happen. I will reinforce again, it's not going to happen.
This is a sort of a good question that links into what you just said, but also I guess for any children at what age you're watching at that might want to write their own stories, or even if they're short stories and stuff. How do you write kind of big feelings, about big subjects in a way that is obviously very intense, that is quite, full on, but again, not hopeless? How do you kind of, get that across without kind of, when you're writing something, lessening the sense of danger or peril that starts at the beginning? So you always have a sense that there's a sense of hope and something, it'll be all right in the end. How do you manage to sort of do that? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I always write with humour. All my books are funny, even the serious ones, because otherwise I couldn't do it when I'm writing it. To be stuck in a very depressing world for so many months would be hard going if there weren't lighter moments and funny moments. And the same with reading. I don't want to read something that's endlessly depressing. I want it to have funny bits in as well. So that is how I do it. I make sure that there are proper laugh out loud moments and other ones that make you smile.
Absolutely. Can you give us a little taster of that, a little bit that maybe somehow brings to life our theme today, but it doesn't have to, but just give us a little taster of When the World Ends. And then we've got a school question for you. Then we've got a little video after that, and then we're going to Stewart, and then we're all back. And the program's carrying on to its beautiful finale. So over to Joanna for a little taster of When the World Ends.
Okay, this is not a funny bit because there are 3 voices in the novel, and one of them is very funny, and that's Paris. But this is Gaston, the boy who's stuck at the top of the tower block. And his sections in the book are written in narrative verse. So these are a few of Gaston's poems from the very beginning. This is called See the Seaside. What do you think of when you think of the sea? A custard-coloured beach in a bright slice of sunlight. A flock of bobbing yachts in a dinky little harbour. A hill of hugger-mugger holiday cottages in sugared almond pinks and blues. I don't suppose you notice the dirt and the murk, the bins brimming with litter, and watching it all from high up on a hill, a 4-storey block of pebble-dashed flats, at the top of them, me. If you start at the bottom and work your way up, Mandalay Flats would look like this. First comes Armageddon Terry, who's always waiting for the end of the world, and Mrs. Witter, who thinks it's already here. Next up are the Hollybob-bods, who take one look at our squat block and think someone's been having a laugh on Airbnb. Then my friend Roshan, who tries not to laud it just because he's 14, and his hard-faced aunt who looks down on us all. Last is my mum, only she's mostly over Liscard way looking after her ladies, which leaves only me. And you might think it's lonely being home alone and only 12. But the thing is about living in Mandalay Flats, it never is.
There we go. Now we've got a taste of that. Gives you an idea when the world ends. Out for your reading pleasure now. We've got a question for you, a school question for you, which kind of links probably directly to that passage, I'd imagine, or the book as a whole. So this is from Greenmount Primary School in Bury. Thank you for your question. Which part was the hardest to write, emotionally or creatively? Well, yeah, I'm going to say.
It was the hardest bit is once the flood has happened. The run up to that is all kind of almost fun and excitement because they don't know what's going on. But once the flood happens and it's raining and it does not stop raining for weeks and weeks and months, I found just being stuck in that world, like I said, really, really bleak. So even writing the funny bits in that was quite hard. So actually, while I was writing this book, I was writing a funny book at the same time. So I wrote this first thing in the morning, then I swapped to write a really just funny book to try to make it easier for me.
I think that's really, I'd imagine that's really, really difficult to do. So I imagine doing that to sort of balance up in your own head is kind of important. Joanna, so when the world ends out now, Joanna will be joining us again a bit later on with Stewart as well on that. But for now, round of applause. Joanna Nadin, thanks very much, Joanna. Thank you very much. Speak to you in a minute. Thank you. So we're going to jump in now with another video. This is a video about mental health. It's probably more aimed at the slightly older children, so maybe upper key stage 2, sort of key stage 3. It's a little animation, and it runs for about just under 5 minutes, and then we're back with Stewart Foster. Okay, so have a look at this and see if anything rings true with yourself. Here we go.
You can't tell how someone feels just by looking at them or what they share online. To the outside world, our lives may look perfect, even if in reality they aren't. I'm always worrying about doing well at school, and with the end of year test coming up, I'm not sure how much longer I can cope. My thoughts swarm around my head, sometimes keeping me up all night. Some days it's just all too much, and I feel like I'm lost in space. When I did badly on one of my tests, I just about kept it together until I got home. Then I broke down crying in front of my mum. She listened for a bit, and then she told me that, just like physical health, we all have mental health. It's our feelings, our thinking, our emotions, and our moods. She then said that feeling down, angry, and stressed is a normal part of life, just like it's normal to feel happy, confident, and carefree sometimes. We all have positive and negative emotions that come and go based on what's happening around us. These are everyday feelings. Good mental health means experiencing negative emotions. It's not always about being happy. Mum can relate to the feelings of stress. So when Mum suggested I take a break from everything and do something I enjoy, I actually took her advice. So I made myself a hot chocolate, snuggled up in a duvet and watched a film. And you know what? Afterwards, I felt so much better. Mum should take her own advice.
Most of us only ever share the good things. We don't like to share how we really feel. Every morning when I wake up, negative thoughts stream through my head. Getting out of bed and pretending I'm okay takes all the energy I have. As the day goes on, the negative thoughts turn from a stream into a river. The water rushes through my head so loudly it's hard to concentrate in lessons. And some days it's so bad it feels like a waterfall that's trying to pull me over the edge. Everything is so overwhelming. I didn't think my friends would understand if I told them how down I was feeling. But when Sasha opened up to me about how stressed she was feeling, I told her. I wasn't sure how to bring up how I'd been feeling, so I started by saying that I didn't feel like myself. Just her listening made me feel like she understood. She told me some things that had helped her, so I tried them too, but it didn't make much of a difference. Even when I tried to be around my friends, I felt alone. The things I used to enjoy weren't fun anymore.
I was really worried about Andre and not sure what to do. He was quiet and wasn't hanging out with us like he used to. So I asked our head of year for some advice. He suggested I get Andre to speak to him since his negative feelings weren't going away.
I didn't want to speak to our head of year, but I also didn't want to keep feeling so down, so I went. He said that sometimes we have overwhelming feelings that can be more intense than our everyday feelings. These feelings hang around for a long time and change the way we feel, think, and behave. They can stop us doing what we want to in life. That's what I was going through. He also said that if we're physically unwell, we let people know, we ask for help. It should be no different with mental health. Sometimes our overwhelming feelings are brought on because of things in our life. Sometimes they happen for no reason at all. After hearing this, I felt much less alone and it felt good to talk. Scientists have found exercise can help when you're feeling low, so our head of year encouraged me to sign up to the school football club, which Sasha was already in. I still have days when the river is there, but now I'm beginning to understand my mental health. I'm learning how to cope. Our head of year reminded me that my friends, family, teachers, and lots of others at school are there to help just as much as he is. I had no idea the people around me could be so understanding. And while it's not always easy to talk about my mental health, the person I'm talking to might be able to help. If you don't feel like talking, that's fine. You could try writing, sports, reading, art, music, playing with your pet, whatever makes you feel better.
If you're the person someone talks to when they're struggling, just listen with no pressure or judgments. You don't have to have the answer. If you feel unsure about anything, you can speak to a trusted adult. Talking about mental health doesn't have to be difficult. After all, it's something we all have.
A fantastic video there. We all have mental health. Maybe some of those things kind of like, that you recognize in yourself. And so hopefully that was helpful to you. Now it's time to welcome back Stewart Foster and to speak about his wonderful book and a little more about today's theme of This Is My Place. So welcome back, Stewart. Nice to have you back again. Amazing little film that, wasn't it? Really kind of a lot in there.
So much of that resonated.
Yeah, no, and oddly, some of the stuff you'd already said kind of linked to that film, which is amazing. I'm sure it did for a lot of the children watching as well. Okay, so Stewart, your book, is a wonderful book. Tell us a little bit more about all the things that could go wrong and this kind of story and the characters in it. So tell us a little bit about this book. I hand over to you for that.
Okay. Well, I do. It kind of do both things at the same time. I can know where the idea from, and it was the fact that I was working in a school where I could feel bullying in the school. It was just an overriding sort of atmosphere that was in the school. I was actually there to learn to be a teacher, and I could feel the atmosphere of bullying. And then what also happened was that I had a friend of mine, my best friend, with horrendous OCD, and I was getting annoyed because there was lots of jokes about OCD, about checking that pens are in the right place, checking that books are in the right place, when it's such a horrible thing that it stops you going outside for a long time. And I literally thought, let's write a book about bullying. And I thought, nobody wants to read that. And I thought, let's write a book about OCD. Nobody wants to read that. And then I suddenly thought, wait a minute, what about a boy bullies a kid with OCD and they're forced to do something together? And in this case, it's Dan and Alex. Alex is the lad with OCD. And they are forced by circumstance of the fact their parents are friendly to build a raft on the seafront at Brighton. And so at first they're kind of like obviously polar opposites because they don't want to be near each other, particularly Dan, who's the bully. And it then gets to the point where a crisis in Dan's life makes Alex realize they kind of both reach a crisis point, and it's that point that makes them realize that the other is actually okay. And that's the crux of the book.
It's interesting that because what you just said, because as I said, the theme is this is my place of children's mental health week 2026. In the story with these two characters, you'll probably answer this in that it's sort of seesaws in this, but who feels like they belong and who feels like they doesn't, and do you think that kind of switches around?
When I was writing it, and for a start, I should say this: the hardest point was writing Dan, the bully, because I didn't like him, and I didn't think anybody else would like him either. And then in this case, and it comes to all kind of mental health, is understanding why somebody is doing something. And in particular, so I think the onus is on, when somebody's being bullied, the onus is on for that person to go to the teacher and say, I'm being bullied. But actually, if it's switched round and the bully suddenly realize how unhappy them by reading perhaps a book like this, they would help actually say, I'm not happy, I'm doing it because of this. And so, yeah, it swings around who you kind of, if you like, who you're batting for at times. You're kind of like, yeah, come on, Dan, come on, Alex. And then by the end of it, you just kind of think, they're both really, they're nice lads. They were just misunderstood, the pair of them.
And it's a weird thing about that, because when you have someone who's I read it somewhere, and I don't know, when someone who's a bully, they feel powerless, which is why they want to insert power onto you, you know. So there's that they don't feel like they fit either. So it's this weird kind of mix.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned OCD in this book. Some of the children watching may recognize that, may have parents or relatives that have a sense of that and something like that. But it's also just something really good to sort of learn about. What did you want readers to understand about sort of OCD? In fact, just explain what it actually means, because some of the children might not know.
Sure. So
what did you want people to understand about that? Sorry, go on.
Yeah, that's fine. Obsessive compulsive disorder. So a lot of people kind of just think it's about checking the light switches, checking the gas is switched off and things like that. And I've got to be a little bit careful with this, because so my best friend, who's actually closer to a lot of the people who are watching this, he's now 29. I met him at university, and awful OCD. And when I talk about washing hands 30, 40 times a day, but also just not being able to go outside. And I actually whilst I was writing another book, I was teaching him, and he wrote a book about his OCD. And then it didn't get published. And then I just said, how about I work with what's there, and we will then highlight how bad OCD is. And to some extent, in the first draft of this book, because I started writing for 14, 16-year-olds, so it was a lot more detailed than what it is, because obviously I had to make it appeal to younger readers as well. But it is really just understanding that, and it goes with all things, is when we're looking at people. So exactly, like anxiety, for example, a person with anxiety can actually look like they're annoyed with you and that they're in a grump, but all they're doing is internalizing everything, and then it comes out as anger sometimes because they couldn't do it. So yeah, but the OCD, I just really wanted to focus. I wanted everybody to know that's how bad it is. And if you see somebody, and because they're often very quiet people, very introverted people as well, it's harder because you're just looking at them, just thinking, well, why are they like that? And you just have to think a little bit outside of everything else and go, there's a reason why they're thinking, why they're behaving.
Good, great advice. Great advice for everyone watching. Again, no matter what your age watching. Before we go into have a little reading from your book, and you can sort of tell us a bit more about the story and the characters. Just a little thing from you. What's one small thing do you think a class could do? Maybe this is quite a big task to help someone feel a bit less alone this week, and that's quite a big challenge for a class. But what do you think?
That school that I referred to with the bullying. Okay, so this is a little bit, maybe a bit out of control, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Is to almost normalize. So the fact is not just Mental Health Week this week; it's every week. All right. And that school in particular had loads of signs up about mental health. Unfortunately, they weren't addressing them. It was just kind of like a tick box they were putting on board. And I think the more visual it is, and you have it in every single classroom, the easier it becomes to talk about it.
Yeah.
And in particular, I can remember when I wrote this book that I remember advocating that teachers walk around with a copy of it. So if somebody says, "What's that?" Because if there's 100,000 books on the shelf, you can't say what are all those about. But if and then they say what it's about, you then trigger the questions, and then you trigger the conversations. So that was kind of my advocate for a while. And
that's brilliant. That's good advice. That really good advice. That and that's something I can do.
In the book, there's a very strong teacher who's a gym teacher. And I think in most schools, the PE teachers are quite strong characters. I actually advocated that every PE teacher walk around with a book because yeah, okay, the person that happens to be maybe the strictest in the school or things like that is actually reading a book about mental health
Yeah,
issues.
no, there's a lot in that. There's a lot in that. Yeah. That's really good. Give us a little taster of the book, and I'll hand over to you, Stuart, for that. Give us a little reading from the book, and then we've got a school question afterwards, and then we've got.
I had to change the section because, as you can see, I broke my glasses, so I had to read something. This is something, when I was writing the book, I struggled with Alex telling his feelings. And then my daughter looked up and said, why doesn't he do what I used to do when I was younger, which you told me to do, which was write a worry list. And Alex is scared stiff he's going to get his head dunked in the toilet at lunchtime. So it goes, my worry list. Everybody's going to die. The toilet is filthy. Poo will go in my hair. I wish Dan would die. I wish Sophie would die. I wish she'd get run over by a bus. I'm a terrible person. I shouldn't be thinking that. I'm going to die because I'm thinking that. I really don't want to die. I don't want Sophie to die. But I think the old man is just crossing the road outside. He might. Everybody's going to die. Everybody's going to die. And that's what it kind of looks like in the book. But maybe like written. A very quick section.
Yeah. No, but I know, but that's the thing. It's a really good thing. Well, it's got a question. Does this link in with that? Let's have a look at this. This is Beaumont School, St Albans. Thank you. Well, you kind of already answered this, but he might have added to it. So thank you for your question, by the way. So what made you to decide to include a character with OCD in your book? Maybe you can answer this as well. Not something you might have added to that, but obviously a lot of your books sort of, have elements of sort of these really, they sort of infused with empathy, but they have elements of different characters of sort of, struggles going on. So maybe they could open that a bit wider in terms of, a lot of your books.
Sure. So obviously that was based on my best friend, still my best friend. And I kind of want it to be that when we're writing the books, and the worst thing I think somebody can say to me is, oh, that's the book about OCD. That's the book about ADHD, because the character comes first. And what I don't want to happen in a book is that everything is governed by what we perceive is wrong with them. So it's almost like write it and then go, okay, if they had ADHD, if they had OCD, how would they get around it? And so I don't want the OCD or ADHD to govern the plot. And that's why it's almost like showing success is, little nuggets of success in what you think is a hopeless situation is to recognize the improvements, just little things that happen in your life. And that's what I put in most of the books, is that just little things, you should celebrate them rather than just go, when somebody says to you, oh, well done for that, and you just kind of go, oh, and pass it off. It actually should be, you go, okay, no, you're right. Yeah. It's worth celebrating. And, it's not like you go around doing this, but you should go, I did something that improved things today. And then you can build on that afterwards.
Well, I think this is the thing, and I've said this in previous shows, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself to children, but to echo what you just said, the thing is that as we find out in life, you might know as a kid, but you find out as you get older, is that there are a lot of things you're not very good at, and there's a few things you're good at. So when you're good at them, just, celebrate the fact that you're good at them. There's nothing wrong with that, and then there are other things you're bad at. Don't worry about the things you're not so good at. So great advice there. What we're going to do is, Stuart, we're going to bring Joanna back in a minute. We've got another short video from Place to Be. It's about 3 minutes about this year's theme. Then we're going to bring Stuart and Joanna back for our questions, your questions that you've already sent in as well. So for now, Stewart Foster, round of applause, Stuart. Thank you very much. Speak to you in just a minute. So let's have this other little video. This is about 3 minutes long. And it's celebrating the theme of This Is My Place from Place to Be for this week.
Belonging matters. It shapes who we are in our friendships, in school and education, and in our communities. And it plays a vital role in our physical and mental health and well-being. When we feel that we belong, it empowers us to contribute to the world and thrive. From the early years, our sense of belonging and connection forms through our relationships with our most trusted caregivers, which grows through meaningful moments of connection. When adults are fully present, children feel seen, heard, and valued. This presence communicates to children that they matter, building trust and emotional security, laying the foundation for social and emotional skills to flourish. As children grow, belonging deepens through the relationships we form and the moments we share. Friendships and peer connections play a vital role in helping us feel accepted and valued. From nature walks and creative arts to music, sport and cultural experiences, there are countless ways to build these bonds, providing opportunities for teamwork and shared achievement. These activities can create spaces where children feel part of something bigger, a sense of togetherness and shared passions. When children experience positive interactions with others, whether through play, conversation, or collaboration, they develop trust, empathy, and a sense of identity within a group. This teaches cooperation, celebrates diversity, and strengthens the social fabric that helps every child feel they belong. There are undoubtedly times when we face more complex challenges. Connection at the toughest times can sometimes feel difficult. But with the right environment and community around us, children and young people can feel safe to navigate these difficult experiences. This year, Place to Be's Children's Mental Health Week is shining a light on the importance of creating inclusive, nurturing environments where children and young people can truly feel they can belong and say, "This is my place." So we're inviting you to take a moment and look to the young people around you, your family, your friends, your community, and ask, what can I do today to help children and young people feel truly seen, heard, and valued? Because when we create genuine moments of connection, we give children the foundations to thrive.
Fantastic there. Some there for the children, but also for some of the teachers watching and adults who may watch this later on as well. So I hope that was useful to see that as well. Okay, so time for your score questions. We're going to bring back Joanna and Stewart as well. Okay, welcome back, Joanna and Stewart. Great to have you still with us. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of questions. We'll try and get through as many as we can. We were sent loads in, so this is just a selection. So we'll do the best we can to get through them all. Some great questions, so thank you for them. So first one coming up, and thank you for all your questions, is from Somervale School in Radstock in Somerset. Thank you for your question. What do you feel is the most pressure on students when they are navigating life at secondary school? Some of the primary school students might haven't got there yet, but you will do. So this might be useful for you when you get there. And if you are there, this may be of use to you. So Joanna, any thoughts on this at all?
Yeah, I think there are two things that feed into the levels of pressure and thus levels of anxiety. And I say this as someone who was horribly anxious at school and who had a very anxious teenager throughout secondary. So the first thing, it was the relentless pressure on exams and grades and hitting targets. My daughter's secondary school, they're like, what do you call it? Tagline or theme for the school was, we set you a target that's just out of reach. It meant that they were constantly failing. She felt she was failing all the time. Yeah. Alongside that, while I think social media can be wonderful in connecting some kids, my daughter found it hugely helpful in finding her tribe, as it were. It meant that she brought the bullies home with her in her phone. So those are those two things, the sort of, the endless pressure on success, whether that's academic success or success in terms of who your friends are and how you're seen. So those.
It's really interesting. Yeah, really. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of the children watching can feel that as well. Stewart, would you echo that, or anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, first of all, hello to that school, because I was there a couple of years ago. Not far away from us. When we're talking about sort of the idea of the pressures that are going on, is that I feel these days is, again, like Joe said with the social media, is it's not just enough to be, it's almost like you have to be. And my biggest way I can think about this is that sometimes if I'm out walking sort of the canal path or something like that, and there's a school not far away from here, and I often see groups of kids filming themselves, ready to go. And first of all, you think, oh, that's fun, they're doing that. But they're putting it because they're posting it for the likes and the pressure of the fact that they want to be popular and things like that. So I think it's almost like sometimes it's not enough just to sort of like, you can't just pass through school. You will have to, they feel like there's a need to be something else. And as Joe said there, I personally, I think, and as Joe totally said, the pressure to perform in exams is huge. And I don't remember that. I'm an old guy. I don't remember it that much as being, and I also think that it's the cost of failure that is also, because that makes you scared to do anything.
Yeah, you can do, yeah.
So the very thing that Joe said about we set a target that you want to achieve, you're set for failure, aren't you?
I know you try that in life. I know that's really, really difficult. And it's interesting with the social media thing, without going all down that for children, but there's an interesting line that it said, the problem with social media is that you compare your reality to everyone else's highlights. And I think that's the thing. But it's not even their highlights, because it's not their reality. So it's a weird one. Right. Thank you for your question, Somervale School in Radstock. So this is from St. John Fisher Catholic College, Newcastle under Lyme. I have to say, and I say this now on every show, because they always send in questions and they're amazing. So thank you very much, St. John Fisher Catholic College. What is your top tip for helping your own mental health? That might have changed over the years, but Joanna?
Mine is putting my phone down and reading.
Yeah.
Basically, as I've said, books are my happy place, and getting lost in a book stops me. Even when the phone isn't annoying, like upsetting me, it sends my thoughts. My thoughts become too busy, and I find it hard to sleep. Whereas reading calms me down. So that's mine.
Well, there's a stillness, isn't there? You just like that. You're still. Stuart.
I think there's going to be a theme here with the fact of getting away from phones, because I'm awful on the phone, and the times I'm away from it is when I'm cycling or if I'm running. And so I think exercise. I've been out for 2 hours today already, and the phone is left at home. It's just kind of it's just like, don't look at that thing. Of course, you know what happens as soon as you go back through the door. Oh, you're straight there. But for 2 hours, I wasn't on the phone. So
that's exercise. Get outside.
Yeah, exercise for your brain is amazing.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. Okay, this is from Bishop Challoner School. Thank you. Hold on, let me get this up. In London. Thank you. What's the best advice you have heard about helping mental health? So this may be not something that you need or do yourself, but any particular advice that you've given, you think actually that works for a lot of people. Any thoughts about that?
Shall I go?
Oh, so Joanna, yeah, sorry.
Oh no, Stuart said he wants to go first.
Sorry, go. Yeah, go. Yeah.
This is something I've heard recently. It was actually Louis Tomlinson from One Direction, which some of you may have known. And he was talking about how his role in life is to help and protect his sisters and things like that. And at one point, he felt that he had nowhere to go with his issue. And there's this analogy that if you don't actually either say it out loud or write it down, even if you don't say it to anybody yourself, but write it down or say it out loud, we often solve a problem. And I'm sure Joe gets this with writing, I'm sure, as I do. We can be stuck and we'll be talking to somebody, go, I've got this character that's doing this, and then halfway through the sentence you go, I've already sorted it, haven't I? That's what happens. And
it's weird when you hear stuff out loud. That's what you're saying, like speaking out, and is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just say it out loud to yourself. Because the trouble with, especially with anxiety, is somebody will go, what's bothering you? It's not one thing. It's a myriad of things that gives you, the feeling in your stomach that you don't want to do things, and you can't pinpoint it. But often, if you just kind of go, what is it? What is it? And then you say it out loud, it comes to you, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's what's been bothering me all day. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes 5 or 6 hours to work it out. But I do. That's what I would say, is that idea of saying it out loud.
Yes, but speak it. Yeah, that's really good advice. That Joanna.
I'm tempted to go with another One Direction member and say, and Harry Styles, and just say disco occasionally, because dance is, like exercise, hugely good for mental health. this is easier said than done, but writers are terrible for catastrophizing things, so making things worse than they might be, because our job is to make things worse for our characters.
Yeah.
But my daughter used to do it. It was imagine the worst that can happen. Why? You don't know what's going to happen in the next minute, let alone in a week's time. There is no point imagining the bad stuff when you haven't got there yet. And as I said, that is much easier said than done. But there is nothing that you can solve at 11 o'clock at night. So if you can put it down at least till morning, that might be helpful.
It's all really good. What's wonderful about these conversations, I hope it's the same for the teachers watching as well, and the children, whatever age you're at, is that you realize is that we are all quite similar. Really, all of us human beings, we have a lot of the same stuff going on. So it encourages us to be a bit more kinder, a bit more aware of each other, and I think that's we all belong to each other in that kind of sense, which is the theme today. So thank you for your question and your answers, both of you. Brilliant answers as well. So a couple more questions, if that's okay. So Co-op Academy, Stoke-on-Trent, thank you. Any suggestions for how we young people can start conversations with friends if we think they might be struggling with their mental health? Because that can be a tricky one. Sort of echoing a couple of things that you said, Stuart, about, especially with social media and stuff, we sort of present these ideas of our lives being, brilliant, and we're into this and we're into that, and we have to be great at everything and happy at everything. And sometimes it's just not the case, And some people also who come across really confident sometimes aren't actually confident. It's all a bit of a front because that's how they cope. So any suggestions, Stuart, let's start with you again, how we can start conversations with friends if they think they might be struggling with their mental health?
Yeah, that thing that you just said about putting on the front, I think most people that meet me don't think, especially if I'm doing a school event, but say is that you've got no idea what's going on underneath. It's just that. I can only do it with something in my latest book, which is for older age group, and we're talking about 14 plus. But it was based on a real incident that happened at school with myself. And I was walking home, and I was in the rugby team, the football team, and everything was great, rosy. Like I said, I used to walk home not particularly happy. And a lad that used to write poetry and was into drama, and he was walking on the other side of the road, and this is down to him, not me, all right? But he suddenly walked across, and I thought, what's he doing here? And we had nothing in common, didn't they? And he just said, he just looked at me and just went, hi. And I said, right. He said, and I used to write poetry in school and about the students. And he said, I heard you wrote a poem about the PE teacher today. And I said, yeah. And he said, it was great. It was that was nice that he said it was great.
Yeah.
But that about it, I'd never spoken to him for 5 years.
Wow.
And yet he decided to come over to me. And it's almost like if we know that person and we know a little bit about them, it's to latch on to the bit you do know.
Yeah.
If you just go over there and okay, that happens to be an Arsenal fan, you thought it was a Spurs fan, you've had it. But it's kind of like you pinpoint a bit. If they're not looking happy, all you need is a starter for things to roll on from.
Yeah.
And you literally it would just be a case of, I noticed you did this today, or what did you think of such and such when we were in history today?
Would you agree, just to echo another, would you agree that the problem with a lot of us is that we tend to speak out when we've got a problem with someone or something? We sort of say, well, I don't like that, I don't like that. But we very rarely go up to someone and sort of say, oh, that was really good of you, or thank you for being there, or like, you're really good at this, or, we tend to, when there's a good thing, we just take it as normal. That's okay, that's good, that's doing that. And so when something goes wrong, we tend to vocalize it in the sense of usually to do with other people. But do you think that's the case, that we all kind of do that a bit?
You become defensive. If somebody says something like that, oh, I don't like. If it's actually removed the word, and I'm sure Joe gets this in writing as well, we very rarely use the word can't, or I don't put can't in the book. And it's almost like if you remove that from vocabulary, but replace it with I don't like, you just remove it. And then all of a sudden it's like, I do like. And we respond to it, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's cool. I didn't have a clue he'd read my poem. But it all of a sudden was, oh, that's cool. And before we knew it, and in the book, and as it happened in real life, we ended up writing poetry together for 2 years. And it was amazing.
That's amazing. I love that. That's brilliant. Joanna, any other thoughts?
It was amazing.
It is really hard to broach the topic of mental health, even though we all have mental health, good or bad. For me, the only thing I sort of think you can do is just say to someone, "You're all right," and expect them to go, "Yeah, I'm fine." But then you come back with, "But if you're ever not, I'm always here for you." So that they can almost put it off and then come to you when they are ready. But just knowing that there is a listening ear there, I think, is important.
I think that's huge. That's huge, isn't it? And that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of these things, and as we're seeing today, is the way to to cope with sometimes your own mental health, to cope with helping other people, are quite small things. You can make these small little steps, and they can have huge impact on your life and other people as well. We do have other questions. We haven't got time for them today, but I just want to say, Stewart and Joanna, thank you so much for being so sort of honest and open today about your own stories as well. Also with your wonderful books as well. Both have you got? Can you hold them up again? Have you got copies? Hold them up now. So these wonderful stories, all the things that could go wrong, and When the World Ends are out now. So you can jump into that, and you can take a leaf out of Joanna's book, and you could try reading to sort of calm your thoughts down, or you can go out for a run with the book if you're Stewart and read at the same time if you want. Stewart, Joanna, any final words you'd like to say? Stewart, any particular final words you'd like to say to any of the children watching?
Yeah, this is only because and I've front this up with everybody, is the pressure to read these days. Obviously, yes, we should, but not all of us can. I have a terrible attention span, and it is just talk, and it's just that idea that, and if books promote talking, great, all right. But we need to be in an environment, and in that video you showed where they were walking into rooms, that room needs to be a place where you feel safe. And it also needs to be a place that's not ridiculed by everybody else in the school. It goes, oh, they went to such and such. So just, try to be open and try to talk.
Fantastic advice. Joanna, any final words today?
Just that whatever you're going through, you aren't alone. Someone else is going through it at the same time as you. And the only way you're going to find that out is by talking to someone, whether that is a friend, a parent, a teacher. Getting that conversation started means you'll find that kindred spirit, hopefully, somewhere.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for being on. It's an absolute joy to have you both on. So let's give up. They can't see you, but they can hear, feel the vibes. Round of applause, Stewart Foster. Round of applause, Joanna Nadin. Thank you very much, and best of luck with your books. And thank you so much. Nice one. Thanks, Stewart. Thanks, Joanna. Look at that wonderful guest, and it's wonderful to hear that from adults and speaking about it. And hopefully, a lot of the stuff in today's show has really, touched your heart, or maybe with someone as well. Big idea, this is my place, but belonging is probably built, as we said, in kind of small, simple moments. Noticing people, as Stewart and Joanna both said, listening properly to people, inviting someone in and making it normal to sort of say to them, are you okay? A bit like Stewart just said then. Teachers, thanks very much for taking your time to invite me into your classroom today, and for watching this as part of Children's Mental Health Week. Pupils, you guys have been brilliant. You're always brilliant. Stay tuned, much more coming up with Mr Dilly Meets in the future. But for now, that's the end of Children's Mental Health Week Special 2026. My name is Mr Dilly. It's goodbye for me. It's goodbye for me. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.